Hello there, how are you? Today I'm here to talk about the ups and downs of working under pressure, as you can see from here. Alright, as we know the subject already, I'm gonna take it away, wipe it off, and I'm gonna talk about what I think are the ups and downs of working under pressure. So, what I'm gonna talk about specifically are following. And I already apologize for my handwriting, and because I'm left-handed, I'm not like clearly seeing what I'm writing while I'm writing, so just try to understand. Alright, so I have the agenda over here. So what we have here are the fears, and introduction to work, self-education, growth, as well as insecurities. So I'm about to begin logically with talking about the fears. And to be clear, I'm talking about my own experience and nothing else but my own experience. So, about the fears, I think we all have fears when we work. If we don't work under pressure, we might have them, or if we work under pressure, we might have them. So, this is about under pressure anyway. And I think that when you work under pressure, you have a lot like to process, and to succeed you need to be very focused on the core problem when you're trying to solve problems. It of course depends on what you're doing, but if I try to take a look on it on a general basis, so I would say that we might have the fear of failing. So I'm gonna add failing here. Because, of course, when we want to succeed, we try to not make any mistakes. But what we actually need to be aware of is that we will make mistakes and we will fail. So we need to try to accept that we're gonna fail, because that's the only way to learn to develop and to accept yourself as you are. Because if you fail, you know what you're gonna do next time to prevent the situation from happening. Alright, so then over to introduction to work. About introduction to work, I'm more talking about when you start your job, you have the introduction to work, hopefully, and mostly I've learned by copying my colleagues, which is actually the best way to learn. Firstly, when you try to learn something, it's good to see what the others are doing if you're doing teamwork. Of course, it depends on what you're doing, but I have been working in teams always when I've been working, so I would say that this is mostly about learning to copy. I'm gonna say copy now because I think it's a very accurate thing here. You might disagree, but I'm gonna say this because I think that trying to mimic or trying to do things like your colleagues are doing is also showing that you trust your colleagues and that you respect them and you want to be a part of the team. And if we talk about working independently, I would say it's absolutely important to have the introduction to work, so that it's not about trying to find the way to work, but trying to find the right way to do things. And of course you need to have some goals and have the base for the goals as well, because there's no reasonability to do something if there is no like script for what you're doing. So you need to have a script for what you're doing to learn and to reach your aims. And then over to self-education. So I was already talking about this a little. I think this is about independency. I think this is pretty clear as it is already there, so I'm not gonna add anything on the table now, but I would say that this is a very important thing when you're in a team as well. If you have a lot of responsibility, like I do have a lot of responsibility at work, I need to find ways to learn without always asking someone or without just doing what someone tells me to do. I need to find the way to self educate myself. So it's about education the other ways, but getting the education from your boss, for example. So this is about learning by yourself. And I think it's very important that if you want to develop, you need to sort things out by yourself and not always ask. Of course, if you don't know what you're doing, you need to ask, and you have to ask because that's the way to know how to do things the right way. But also, it's very important to show people that you have learned and show people that you have the things in control and that they can also trust you in the team, for example. And if you're doing something independently, then again, it's very important to have everything like systematically working and to be able to make decisions based on situations. So it's a lot about situations. So all right, going over to growth. I mean, growing as yourself, like in work life development. I'm gonna add it here. Development, oh god, it looks so bad. I'm sorry. Development is the key to success. If you don't develop yourself, if you just stay the same level where you are, or just stay the way you are and without making any changes to your work methods or to your ways of working as a team member, for example, or if you don't want to think out of the box to become better worker if you're employed. I think this has a lot of like ups itself. I don't think there are many downs of development. Of course, if you think it like you try to reach for the stars or something, like you're trying too much, it's not good. Then you're not developing yourself, then you're just like making it worse in the worst scenario. But yeah, I think you got what I meant, and you can always ask if you didn't. Okay, to insecurities. You have insecurities, and you need to have them because they are the key to access the goals. If you think that you're good enough, that you're perfect, for example, let's say that you think you got it all and you don't need to develop yourself, you don't need to learn any new things or whatever. So that's a very bad thing. You need to be able to have insecurities in order to succeed. This is very important, and I think that insecurities, of course, if you have them too much, can be a bad thing and they can cause too much trouble. But you need to be able to trust yourself enough so that you can use your insecurities as your key to success. And I'm sorry for my handwriting, it's very bad, in fact, but I'm trying to learn to use the table. So I'm just gonna sum it up, and I'm gonna tell you the summed up version of this video now. So, the fears. Failing can be a good thing if you learn from your mistakes and if you see the bright side in the situations where you fail. It can be a bad thing if you just stay thinking about the failing or about your mistakes and how bad it was, and you just need to forget. Everybody would think that you failed. Everyone thinks the same in failing. Everyone thinks that it's so bad that they failed, that everybody thinks about it all day long, but actually you're the only one thinking about it all day long in the worst scenario. And then introduction to work. You can learn by copying what other people do, and I don't mean like having them as a mirror or in a naive way, but I mean like looking, okay, they're doing that, observing what they're doing and trying to adapt those working methods to your own working. And about self-education, I told you that it's important to educate yourself to work, because if you don't educate yourself, you're not gonna learn and develop by yourself. You need to think further. If you ask questions, for example, you need to be able to think further and try to search for the information by yourself first. And if you don't know what to do, then you could ask someone, but it's always better to, of course, ask than do something that you don't know you're doing the right way. All right. And then I told you about growth, and this was about development. So, growing can mean developing, and me myself, I've heard many times that I've developed a lot, and I've also have the motivation, so I could add motivation here as well, because I think that's a very important thing in order to grow. I think growing is very important as an employee, because growing as yourself, as a team member, for example, is very important in order to develop yourself. And I think that if you have motivation in what you're doing, you're growing all the time. But if you don't have the motivation in the right place, then you're not gonna grow. Then I told you about insecurities, which are the key to access goals. So if you don't have any insecurities, if you think that you're perfect all the time, you're not going to reach your goals, because you need to be able to think that you're not perfect. What's there to develop otherwise? Alright. Sorry about some of the reflections over there, and this is the first time that I'm using this board, so it might be a bit of a challenge here. But anyway, it's just life it all. So here you can see it all again, and if you have any questions, please ask, subscribe, like, and tell me what you think about the video. Alright, thank you so much. See ya!